We have a very, very special guest, a guest so huge it feels like it's breaking news for Compas on the beat. But we'll leave the breaking news to him because that's his area of expertise. If you're a football fan, you definitely follow him on Twitter and you know him as RapSheet. But he does have a first and last name and probably has four phones in his pocket. I am, of course, talking about the great Ian Rapoport, the insider for NFL Network. Ian, how are you? And was I correct? Do you have four phones?
Thank you guys for having me. I'm very excited about this. I'm glad we got to meet in California a couple days ago. No, I have one phone. I've never understood why people need multiple phones. I mean, first of all, I only have two ears. I only have one mouth. It's not like I can really do two things at the same time, right? So I can only talk to one person. But what I do is I text on my computer, or I can talk to someone on the AirPods and tweet at the same time. All one phone. It works perfectly for me.
Hey, Ian, I feel like I should talk really fast and just get to my point, my question. You're such a busy man. You got breaking news, but we really appreciate coming on Compass on the beat. And Ian, I kind of saw Fernando, talking to you from afar. And I'm like, is Fernando hounding you to get on the show? He's very, aggressive, really, putting pressure. And I'm like, leave Ian alone. That guy's a busy man. But I started thinking, if you don't ask, you don't receive. So I'm assuming for your job field, you always got to kind of, be a pest and get to people and talk to people. How did you kind of balance that out in your work field where, you're not overstepping, but you're also, you're talking to contacts and being in contact in the regular?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I try to do is I try to be very upfront with what I want and what I'm after, right? So if I'm going to annoy someone, if someone has an injury and I need to call the same person several times in a day, I'm very upfront. Like, this is a big injury. It's an important story. Like, I'm going to be annoying and I apologize. Like, life is much easier when you're really, really upfront. And then I think the other thing is, you hope that you build up a good enough relationship where with whoever you're talking to, whichever source it is, whichever person it is, where they understand there's the person who's nice to sit with and maybe have a drink with and normal person. Then there's like the pretty directed, aggressive person who likes to break a lot of news. And, it's like when sometimes I'll ask a question that's sensitive, or I'll break something that somebody doesn't want out. Sometimes I like to ask people, like, do you know what my job is? Like, do you actually know? Because a lot of times it is to report things that people don't know. And sometimes you have to ask uncomfortable things. But I try to be really upfront with it. So even if people don't like it, at least they understand where it's coming from.
Wow, yeah, it's a good response, Ian. But have you ever gotten to a point where somebody just like, hey, leave me alone, or gotten to a point like,
Yeah.
block your number for the day?
Yeah. That's happened to me plenty. Now, blocking numbers, I've had a couple of people block my numbers, which is okay. Doug Peterson did it for a year. We had a big laugh about it at the combine. Basically, they were having like a whole bunch of quarters. This was the beginning of, was Carson Wentz going to start? I think it was Foles. I broke that Foles was going to start the opener, and no one was really sure kind of where it came from, I guess. And I think Doug just didn't like all the texts and the back and forth and just blocked my number to stay out of it. We had a drink at the combine. We cheersed when he unblocked my number. But I don't take offense to that. I really don't. Like, there's a head coach in the league who very famously in my world, because I told a couple of my friends about it, told me, hey, can you just F off right now? And I take no offense, and we laugh about it. And that is just life. And it is okay, because not everybody wants to talk to a reporter at all times. And if I'm going to be upfront and honest with what I do, they need to be upfront and honest with their responses. So if someone wants to tell me to go away, that is absolutely their prerogative.
Ian, you started covering college athletics with Alabama, Mississippi State for newspapers, and then you covered the New England Patriots for the Boston Herald. How did those jobs prepare you for your current job, and when did you realize you wanted to be an NFL insider?
I realized I wanted to be an NFL insider when NFL Network sat me down at a conference table at the Super Bowl, Patriots Giants #2, started interviewing me for an hour, and I had no idea why or for what the end goal was. And they told me they wanted to hire me, and I was very confused, and I never thought about being in TV. That was kind of where it started for me. And at the time, my boss, Eric Weinberger, was like, maybe you could be our insider. And I really didn't know what that was. I mean, I knew some of the guys who did it, but I didn't know how I myself could do it. But about 9 months later, that's actually what I was. I mean, to me, the jobs at mostly Alabama prepared me for, being in the NFL for covering the Patriots, because every single second there's a possibility of breaking news, and a lot of it's hard to get. So you spend a lot of time being like, all right, this player is ineligible. I need to prove it. Or this player, there's a recruiting violation or whatever it is at Alabama. I need to prove it. How do I get to it? And I think that the sort of lack of access in that program really prepared me for the NFL. So, even though it wasn't TV, having to find out news when it's not really out there, I think is something that kind of carries on regardless of whatever job, whatever story I'm working on.
Ian, we connected at Chargers training camp for one of your around the NFL stops. I mean, you have a lot. What stood out to you the most from Chargers camp? Was it Derwin James, Justin Herbert, Brandon Staley? What caught your eye?
I posted a nice picture of me and Herbert talking after practice, and a lot of people took notice of how tall he is and how tall I am not. So I think, I'd met him before at the Senior Bowl. I think that certainly stood out to me. I think the main thing is the Chargers should be good, and a lot of times when you have a new coach, it's like a rebuilding situation where, it's going to take 2 or 3 years, clean out 1 year, build it back up, draft a quarterback. We see that, over and over and over. It's not like that for the Chargers. I mean, obviously Anthony Lynn was fired, but there were definitely some moments where I wasn't so sure he was going to be, because, this was a place that had plenty of talent, and a couple of things happened differently. This could be rolling right along. Now it's going to be with a new coach, but all the same really good pieces are there. I mean, you got a rock star young quarterback. You probably have a franchise left tackle. You have a playmaker on defense ×2. And this is, you kind of got everything with the Chargers, really.
Ian, going back to you mentioning Herbert in the Senior Bowl, it's kind of wild to think that Herbert had a crazy rookie year, and he was the third quarterback taken in the 2020 draft behind Burrow and Tua. Just going back to that 2020 draft, any stories stood out for why Herbert wasn't, seen as good as Burrow and Tua in terms of talent?
Yeah, no, I think first of all, I'm not sure he played very well his last year in college. I don't know how much of it is fault, but I don't think that offense was very good at Oregon. And certainly, it was, the head coach is an offensive line coach, certainly didn't showcase his talents. I remember watching, and I would always watch Oregon games because I'd be working at 11:30 on a Saturday night. They'd always be on TV. And I remember thinking, this guy's talented, but what am I watching? It wasn't, he could pull it down and run. He could make some wow throws, but it looked like a disjointed, weird offensive something or other. And I didn't know what in the world he was. So, I think that's part of the reason. I think everyone was just, you knew that Burrow was going to be the superstar because of the year he put together. And everyone decided 3 years ago that Tua was going to be a potential number 1 pick. So then I was like, who's next? And Herbert was next.
Ian, today, obviously, or on last Thursday, the Chargers had a joint practice against the 49ers. There's a lot of talk about Trey Lance. Is he gonna be the quarterback for the 49ers? There's quarterbacks all over the place, rookie quarterbacks, that a lot of people are asking who is going to be the next starter. In your opinion, who do you feel like is maybe the slam dunk choice to start week 1? Who do you feel like could have the best chance to start week 1?
I'm not sure any of the rookies are going to start week 1. I mean, Mac Jones maybe has the best chance. Doesn't seem like Trey Lance does. Doesn't seem like Fields does. I was there a couple of days ago. Seems like it's going to be Dalton as a starter, and then Fields we'll see. It's hard to come in as a rookie. Now, obviously, Trevor Lawrence is starting. We know that. But that's sort of the given. So of the others, I'm not sure anyone else, we're going to see in there. I think Mac probably has the best chance to go in the fastest. Trey Lance has a good chance to go in and make an impact. I'm not sure how ready he is. And I think it'll probably be in some short spurts.
Ian, I know you're a busy man, but before we let you go, I have to ask you, what's your weirdest breaking news story? Like ever that you've been in a weird location in the middle of Disneyland? Any awkward situation anywhere where you've gotten something like that?
I mean, so many. I mean, so many. Like last year I was at my parents' pool, and I'm like soaking wet in a bathing suit, and I look at my phone, and all I see is all the details on the Jamal Adams trade to Seattle. I'm like, what? All right, just dry the hands off, tweet it as soon as possible. Like that stuff will happen. I got a text at 2:32 in the morning during free agency that CJ Mosley was done to the Jets, 5 years, $85 million. And I woke up at 5, and I was like in a panic because I obviously missed the story by 2.5 hours, except no one else had it because everyone was sleeping like a normal person. But I had to wake up everyone. So I called Adam Gase, called Mike McCagnon. I had to wake up everyone to confirm what in the world was going on. That was kind of a fun one. And I was glad I ended up breaking that one at 5:45 in the morning or something like that.
I wonder how Adam Gase felt getting a call from RapSheet at 5 in the morning and waking him up.
There was an expletive involved. Adam's a great guy. He understood. I believe it was something like Ian can go F himself. But yeah, that's right. Something like that, I believe, was the if I remember correctly, it's something like that.
Well, Ian, the Compas would never tell you that. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you jumping on with us. Everybody, go follow him. If you aren't, then you're not a real football fan. At RapSheet, that is Ian Rapoport, NFL Insider. Thank you so much for jumping on with us, Ian.
All right, thank you for having me, guys.